Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today I have a really cool dude on the show, Dr. Travis Parry. I met this guy in Dallas a few weeks ago and he is a rock star. So stay with us. Make sure you share this out. Thanks so much. See you in a minute. And we're back. Let me bring Dr. Travis on. Travis, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ken. Honored to be here.
Should I call you Doctor?
Travis is fine.
Dr. Travis. So Travis, thank you for being here. I started this show about 3 years ago, little over 3 years ago. And it honestly, it was probably for selfish reasons. I thought, I was kind of going through a rough spot, a little stuck. And I thought, let me just start interviewing people and find out how they got unstuck. and it's worked out. It's worked out well, actually. So, this is your life story, man. So why don't we start with where you were born and raised?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a Southern Californian by birth. I actually really loved Southern California about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It was a great place to grow up.
Yeah.
I had this desire to go to Hawaii, and my father one day was like, son, like, this is paradise. I was like, what are you talking about, Dad? Like, it's 75 degrees all year round. Like, you really can't beat that. So
no, that's hard to beat.
So yeah, I grew up in Southern California, quite honestly, in a big family like my own. There were 6 kids, and my mom and dad, just loved us, hang out with us. We grew up on this 1-acre parcel of land in one of the oldest homes in Simi Valley. It should have been in the historical society, and actually they came and tried to buy it from my mom. But long story, we had just a great childhood, growing up playing on, an acre of land, and we had 5 acres next to us where we built bike tracks and go-karts and just did all sorts of things that kids love to do, that I was fortunate enough to have those awesome experiences.
Did you wear a helmet?
I don't remember we ever owned a helmet. But later on, my dad did actually have an unfortunate accident on a mountain bike. And from that point on, we always wore helmets. Like, wow. It was just like standard protocol. So I'm a big believer in them now, and it's probably saved my life a few times. But back then, like, we were riding, flying around on our go-karts, not thinking of anything, and just enjoying it.
I think about, when I was a kid, we had, I don't even remember what kind of car, a little tiny station wagon thing, and there was, they put us in the back, like, and there was no seat belts. There was no law for seat. There was no, I don't know how we survived. We made it somehow, but, so I think that, that growing up in Southern California, which I don't know much, I've been to San Diego one time in my life. It was beautiful, but I don't know that much about it. So how long were you there? When did you?
Yeah. So I honestly grew up in the same house my entire life. And it's about 3 hours north of San Diego. San Diego is gorgeous. It's a really wonderful place. But Ventura County, Simi Valley, it is home to the Ronald Reagan Library. So I grew up with the shadows of Ronald Reagan and learning all about him as president. And quite honestly, if you ask me who my favorite president is, it's Ronald Reagan. I love Reagan. Such an amazing guy. just have nothing but good. Obviously, there's things in all of our past, but he's an amazing, amazing president of the United States. And so,
Yeah.
I just grew up just having a wonderful childhood. Didn't know much different than having big family. Doing lots of sports. I surfed. I played soccer. I'm very, very active. Our family loved to camp and be really active outdoors, and just learn to love sharing a room with 3 other brothers. And, we did all sorts of fun, stupid stuff that boys do. And bless my mom's heart. She raised 5 boys and had 1 girl. So, she was outnumbered a lot of the time.
So, and how long were you in California again?
So I was there for 20 years, good 20 years.
Okay. Yeah. And you went to, did you go to like public schools? Did you?
Yeah. Okay. That time, I went to public schools, and I did 1 year. We had 1 experimental year as a homeschooling student, back before it was required.
Yeah. And your mom's like, no, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah. Well, we actually kind of begged our parents to do it, because it was it was junior high. Junior high, I honestly think, should never have been invented. We should just gone straight from elementary to something else. But I mean, you've got to have something, right? In middle school, junior high, it's such an awkward time. Such a difficult time for any kid. Just trying to fit in and find out who your friends are and where, really what you stand for. And, so it is kind of a coming out of the cocoon time period, but also just really dumb, really useless. And I found more reasons to try to skip school during that period than any other time in my life, because it was pointless. I did fine in school. I was like a B+, A- student, pretty much A-, and without doing much work. And I'd rather honestly go skateboarding, go on my mountain bike, go do other fun things. But what actually kept me in school is when I got into high school, I got on the soccer team. And that it's like, hey, man, you actually have to be here, and you have to go to so many periods. Not that I was a flunk out or anything by any means, Ken, but definitely had more motivation to be able to play on the varsity teams and things, to keep lettering and run track and those other things. So, pretty normal childhood, just growing up and being active and being excited about, doing dumb stuff as kids.
So you didn't get in any trouble. You just,
this is live, so I'm going to have to, I think probably, honestly, I was a good kid. I was like I said, A-, A student. I was one of the oldest in my family. I was number 2. So I kind of had to be the good example. And if I wasn't, Dad was like, Trav, you're one of the oldest. You've got to be a good example. So I kind of labeled it like there's dumb stuff, and then there's stupid. I stayed away from stupid.
Right.
I did some dumb stuff. Does that make sense?
Right.
I'll let your imagination flow. But, I was never arrested, never, really got pulled over until I got my driver's license. So, I mean, I didn't do the illegal, stupid stuff. I had plenty of friends that told me all about it.
Yeah, I would have been one of the friends telling you about it.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Ken, for helping me not.
I would have been the guy like, I don't want to be like him. So you did you immediately like graduate high school and go into college?
I had this crazy idea that I would skip college and just be a millionaire by age 25. Like that was my design. And I never even thought I would go to college, Ken, quite honestly. But I did a year of junior college when I graduated high school. Me and my friends were like, hey, let's do a year of JC. I didn't take an ACT. I didn't do an SAT. I didn't really prepare for college the way that most people, do. Yeah. And part of that, I think, was because my father, he was an entrepreneur. He did some college. My mom went to like a semester, and she's like, this isn't for me. So I knew that I was supposed to go do it and I was studying, but I just didn't see how that connected.
Yeah.
And the junior college is a really great option for a lot of people. It's super cheap. You can stay at home, you can work. And I worked full time for my dad's business. He had a plumbing business. And I was essentially the apprentice. It was him, my two uncles, and my grandpa. It was a family business, and I was third generation. I was the oldest grandson, and I was in line to take it over and run with it. I was their retirement plan.
Dude,
and
you don't strike me as a plumber. I don't know why.
Well, I don't know, man. But I will tell you, the plumbing company that my grandpa and my father essentially they founded it. My grandpa, he was an engineer, and he took his life savings and said, "I want to do something for myself. I want to work on my own." And I want to, create this family business that the grandkids and the kids, we can all, be tight around. And so I was like 3 when my dad took me to work the first time. I was the plumber's helper, and I went to, I would go with him, all the time. And he would take us kids out to work with him. I learned all about service plumbing and all about how to, I can pretty much do any finished plumbing work needed. I can do most repairs. I know when it's over my head. So I can say that I've owned a home, several homes with my wife, and I've never had to pay for a plumber to come in and repair a thing.
Really?
So there you go.
Really?
And quite honestly, Ken, I teach this to my kids. Like, I think it's incredible that we are skipping the trades. Like that whole dirty jobs movement. I could not agree with it more. Agree with it more. I taught in the university level. I've taught at the college, the high school, university levels as I was going through my graduate experiences. And, there are some kids that they should not be in the university setting. And I'm not trying to put anyone down like that. You can't do it.
Right.
I just mean that I think they're sold a lie sometimes that you have to do it in order to be successful. Couldn't be further than the truth.
You know what? Plumbers and electricians own the biggest houses. They do. I mean, they make crazy money. I know a lot of them, man. They make incredible money.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I totally agree.
Yeah. And, there's a lot to be said, when people find out, hey, your dad's a plumber, you must be rich. I thought, well, there's 6 kids.
Yeah, right.
Right. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
but I would always ask my dad, I'd be like, Dad, are we rich? He's like, rich in love, kid. And, he would kind of keep the money conversation out until I got older. But, there was a lot riding on my shoulders is kind of, do I go into this business? And so I worked it full time, and I saved a ton of money so that I could go to college. Because that was, could I transfer? Can I go to a bigger university? And I eventually did. Before I did that, though, it would be a disservice if I didn't mention my 2-year service for my church. Yeah. I saved about $5,000. My parents paid for the other part of that. And I went and served my church for 2 years in Denmark. Denmark was a place where my father's mother is from. She's an immigrant. She came here when she was 19 on a boat, took a train to Idaho, where she got her first job, and eventually ended up down in southern Utah, where she worked at a t-shirt manufacturing factory. Wow. And she met my grandfather there, and, the rest is history. But, so I know a little bit about how my family history has affected my life. But so to be able to go back there, and I served a proselyting mission, I was knocking doors for hours, talking to people about God. Like, so taboo. Like, people don't do this.
Yeah, that seems like it would be it would be challenging, to say the least.
Definitely. And it was a country that most people, bless their hearts, I love them. I love my Danish cousins. But most people just don't want to talk about God. They want to talk about anything else. And they will. They'll talk to you about everything else. Except for God. Religion and politics are just some weird taboos they don't really like to talk about. So it was incredibly challenging. And I think that it really formed who I was meant to be during that time period. where I could take that experience and say, this is really who you are, Travis. You've persevered, you've gone through incredible, tough challenges. And it, quite honestly, that experience has served me. Say what you will about, a proselyting mission, but I will never be able to look back and say that didn't form me as a human, as an adult. And I've been able to springboard from that to many, many other successes. If it wasn't for that experience, there's no way I would have been as perseverant to follow my wife and date her and say, okay, you don't want anything to do with me. That's all right. And 6 months later, we were married. So, I mean, there's some life skills here, Ken.
Hey, it's a sales job, man. I literally said this the other day on a show. I forget who I was talking to, but I've knocked on tens of thousands of doors. I've been in sales since I don't know how, 7 probably. And I've said, I think every 18-year-old on the planet should go out for at least 1 year and knock on doors and sell something, whether it's God or satellite dishes or whatever. Go, because you learn life communication skills that there's no other way to learn.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Yeah.
And, you're faced with opposition and things that, only you normally do when you get to the real world. Right. So I couldn't agree with you more. There's something to be said about the trades, and there's something to be said about having to go out and knock doors for any cause. Any cause.
Nothing like getting a gun pulled on you at the front door.
Yeah, we can talk stories, but from there, my father came and picked me up for my mission, and we toured around for 2 years because in our church, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we don't choose where we go. We could maybe say, hey, it'd be fun to go here or the other, but we're assigned. And my father happened to have gone to the same mission, but it was
in Denmark.
In Denmark, wow. 20 years earlier. So we got to see some people that he and I both knew, and we both had associations and relationships with. And then we got to visit with our cousins, and we saw the country and the places that my grandmother grew up. He brought me there when I was a 10-year-old kid. So it was a really sweet reunion, really, for he and I and my mom and my brothers who got to come to be there and visit with so many people. And, it was there we started to have conversations about, well, what are you going to do next, Trav? Like, what's next on your agenda? And we started talking about the plumbing business, and we started talking about college. He's like, don't worry about it. You don't have to decide now. Let's go home. We'll kind of see how you like things, and we'll set it up so that you could go that direction if you wanted to, and you could take over this business.
Yeah.
And, I was 21 thinking, gee, what will that look like? How, do I really now want to do this? Because when I was 5 and I went to kindergarten, I wore my Amaron plumbing shirt and said, I want to be a plumber when I grow up, because you idolize your dad, right? And that's what every 5-year-old kid does. It was like, that was that point where like, is this something I really want to do? I knew this. I knew I wanted the kind of freedom, the flexibility, and the financial, no financial ceiling that my father had as a business owner. And so that was really ingrained in me. Was it plumbing? Was that the exact industry? And the more I did it, the more I realized, no, this is a good living. This is a skill, and I will always be grateful. I will be grateful for Amaron Plumbing for providing for my family. Right. But I knew that there was something different for me. And as I started, what I did is I started interviewing people, that skill where you, hey, Mr. Person, tell me about your job, and so I started interviewing really successful people. I was doing podcasting before podcasting was cool, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Live streaming with other individuals. And I found the most successful people that I knew. And I just said, can I come talk to you about your work, about your job? And there was a guy who said, Travis, you would love what I do. Your skills are lining up. Like, you would work really well in this industry.
Yeah.
I work my own hours. I help people with their money. And I was like, wait, what do you do? He's like, I'm a financial advisor. I'm like, whatever it is you just told me, I'm going to do it. I heard flexibility. I heard, money potential. I heard people. Like, those are my three.
Yeah.
And so then I said, I want to do that. And I ended up transferring from the junior college at Moore Park to Brigham Young University. And literally, I got a letter of decline and a letter of acceptance, or a letter of decline, and I got an email of acceptance in the same day from BYU. And long story, I won't bore you, but essentially, the transferring is a fun little a trick. But because I didn't have ACT or SAT, they only went on my GPA, and they miscalculated my GPA, and they sent me out this form letter. I called the counselor. He's like, no, worry about it. We got you in. You're in.
Wow.
So yeah, the dream of going to college was there, but still, Ken, I didn't think I'd ever graduate. And it just wasn't in my mind that, you graduate. I'm just going to go to college.
Wow.
Just going to experience it.
And how old were you? What, 23?
So yeah, I was 22 when I went to BYU, and it was a great experience for me. I met and married my wife, and she graduated a year before me because she's so smart, and she was like ahead on the track. She's fantastic, but she really helped push me along to make sure that I graduated. But I already knew what I wanted to be as a financial advisor. And I got a job selling insurance at State Farm. And that eventually translated to me finding a company called Northwestern Mutual. They're kind of the big 3 or 4 of the insurance industry, kind of like the big 4, or 3 of the accounting world. And so I knew I needed to get my feet wet. And they really helped me. They really helped me, even through college, learn how to be a financial planner and financial advisor. But that's when all the trouble really began, right? When you get to like where you think you're going to be, it seemed like, being married. We had children before we graduated. We had 2 kids graduating college. We walked across the stage with 2 little ones under the age of 3.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So we had to figure out this whole balance thing, right?
This is your undergrad.
This is my undergraduate. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had 12 kids by the time I got my PhD.
That's right. No.
Wow.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened, Ken. Is like, well, our, family value is really high, and we wanted to have a big family. And so we got started, and, it's this bizarre thing. Like, people don't do that anymore. You don't get married when you're young, and you don't have kids until you're older. And I know, but it worked for 2 generations ago. And they did fine. So we're like, hey,
I love your old-fashioned values. I love that.
Thanks, man. It's out of style, but we're trying to bring it back.
We need to.
We do. The crazy thing is, my degree was not in business. It wasn't in financial planning. It was in sociology. Why? I can tell you why. It was the quickest degree out of BYU once I got accepted. I knew what my career path was. And I'm already getting on the job training. I'm already learning how to be a business owner.
Right.
I need the quickest way out. But I did, put some thought into it and made a choice between history and sociology, the 2 credits, the lowest credit degree. And I'm not trying to make light, but I am really trying to say that sometimes, man, when you know what you're supposed to be doing and what you want to be doing, it really, to me, became I'm going to finish. Here's my piece of paper. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I did it, and I finished just in case something was to happen. I could go back to school. I could do something else. But I literally I cried tears of joy the day I took my last test. Hallelujah. I am done with school. I can just focus on being a dad, focus on, my business, and really start helping my clients and really start building it. Well, it wasn't, that was August when I graduated, and it was September, October, November, December, 5 months later, my father, who was 49 at the time, He was just a couple weeks shy of his 50th birthday, suddenly died of a heart attack.
Oh my gosh.
And that triggered just about everything. So here I was, I had idolized my dad. I had basically told him, thanks, Dad, for building this business for me and dealing with the guilt of going to college and doing a degree, something he didn't ever finish, right? And then blaze my own path. I know he was proud of me because he was there when I graduated. And, he was so proud that I finished this and that I was making it on my own. And he wanted nothing more than for me to be successful. He didn't care, if I took over the business or not. But at 49, this was not planned. This was totally out of the blue. And he was literally riding his mountain bike at the time. He was not he was not sitting on the couch, eating potato chips, doing the typical, problem, behaviors that somebody with heart disease would have. But he had it. And it was something called the widowmaker. A widowmaker is when one of the four major arteries, that go to your heart are clogged. And the crazy thing is, because those other three are working so well, your blood pressure is not high. You don't have any typical indicators of heart disease that the doctor would check for unless you knew that there was a problem, unless you did an ultrasound and you really found out. So when my father was on his bike ride, and crazy enough, Ken, he was riding with an EMT who spent, as soon as my father kind of got winded, fell over, he spent about 30 minutes doing CPR on him, waiting for the helicopter to come. 30 minutes is a long time.
Wow.
And I interviewed him. His name is Tom. He's a great guy. I love him. I thought, wow, Tom's with my dad. As soon as I got the phone call, I'm like, Tom will help him. He'll be fine. It didn't register in my mind that he may have already been dead until I got home to my family and heard the news.
Wow.
That changed everything, because as a financial advisor, I was helping people plan for the future. I was helping them with insurance. But that was the first death claim that I had to process.
You had to process your own father's death claim. Oh, geez.
I was 26.
Wow, 26. Dude.
I had no idea what I was doing, Ken.
Wow.
No idea. But I had to just kind of take that I'm the oldest son, and take over what's going on. And I knew the most about, finances and the family as the financial advisor. And I started piecing things together for my mom so that she would have her house paid off, have everything organized, because she really was a total mess. She really had some major anxiety and dealt with, my father's passing really bad, really poorly, as you can imagine.
Were any of your siblings still at home? Like, I was.
2.
Jeez, man, that had to be.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy. One of my siblings was actually serving his mission at the time, and he chose to stay and not even come back for the funeral. He chose to stay and serve, because he said, "This is what Dad would want me to do, so I'm going to do it." And man,
look who's here with us.
Chaz.
Love that.
Good morning. Yeah, it's exactly right. In my brother, he decided he would stay there on his mission. My other brother was just getting going in high school, and that was a huge impact on him. I stayed really close to him, and I still am. But it affected us all. And what it did for me is it really made me question, as I purchased the plot, as I picked out the casket and made funeral arrangements, as I tried to set up Mom's estate and wrote the obituary, and then prepared the final words to say at my father's funeral. I had this really crazy spiritual life-changing experience where I had this moment where I thought, you know what, Dad died too soon. He didn't achieve all these things he was supposed to achieve in life. He talked about some great dreams and stuff. But actually, as I reviewed his life, as I spent a lot of time reviewing, I found that the goals and the things that really mattered to him, he actually had achieved. He had become this person that I believe he wanted to become. At 26, I was trying to manage, new family, business, just graduated, school and everything else. To have this all thrown in my face at that time was a total wake-up call. It was a total wake-up call. I was 30 pounds overweight, and I'm not, I don't look overweight, right? But I was 30 pounds overweight at the time, Ken.
You're like skinny as a rail. Like
when
somebody said, hey, let's come up with a phrase, skinny as a rail. Who can we model for? Oh, you know what? Let's get Travis.
Thank you. I'm no Chaz Wilson, Mr. Buffman. That's for sure. But, I'm a soccer player, mountain biker who was fit and skinny his whole life. Yeah. So when I got to 25 and it caught up to me, which it does for every male, newsflash, I put on 30 pounds fast. I'm like, that wasn't, muscle. So I wasn't really enjoying my fitness. My health was not where it should be. As soon as I got back home, I went straight to the doctor and said, doctor, my dad died of a heart attack. What should I be prepared for? And we did every test imaginable. We even did a test that actually did an ultrasound of my carotid artery to try to find out how much buildup I have in my arteries. And it was pretty average. And I thought, well, crud, if that's pretty average and I have a propensity genetically to have this happen, what do I need to do? And the wheels started to spin. And the thought was, if I'm going to live my life on purpose, my whole tagline, if I'm going to do that, and I'm going to be like my dad in that way, then I'm going to have to not be like my dad and be healthy and make huge changes. So, it's all right. I don't mind, Victoria. I got called my whole life. It's no big deal. But I call it fit, right?
That's right. You are fit. I'll give you that. You are definitely.
And I ride my mountain bike all the time. I'm running. I work out. I stay fit because I knew that, like my father, while he was riding, he was doing all those same things. There was other stuff happening internally. It was the stress. And this is what I finally got to after all my research, all of my work on this. I realized that I needed to really manage my stress better. And I started looking at stress so much that I looked at time management and where I was focusing my time. And I realized that I was stuck in what I call the workaholic trap. And that workaholic trap is what most business owners get stuck in. I've got to build my business. And then once you build it, well, now my clients need my time. And now I've got to do this and this. And even scaling your business really big has the propensity to get you attached to it. It becomes your baby, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, that dream of freedom, flexibility, unlimited financial potential becomes your trap.
Right.
And now you're a slave to your own business. And you don't have the ability to leave it when you want to, go on vacation and live that life that you claim to, have started out for.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I wanted to avoid and what I found myself slipping into. So I started my own practice. I left Northwestern Mutual. I started my own practice as an independent financial advisor. And I started creating the business that I wanted to. I got all sorts of coaching. I went to sorts of training, and I really dug deep into what it is that I needed to do different. Finally, I bit the bullet, Ken, and this is how I got the PhD after the name, is I finally went back to school and said, there's only so much I can learn from other people who have learned it from the research. I need to dig into that, and I need to figure out what is the secret to getting rid of stress and managing and coping it and achieving your goals, because I wanted to know. So I left my business. I've kind of put it on pause, and I did some coaching on the side as I was learning and growing. And I developed some theories. And the theory that I found as I was coaching people was that there are those who really want to achieve their goals and want to do amazing things, and they get help. They get coached. Right. And that's a very popular thing to do. They get mentors and other things. But I found the ones who were extremely successful versus the ones who kept coming back for more coaching, which is a great model, right? If you're in that $56 billion industry of personal development, it's a great model for reoccurring revenue, but it's not efficient. You can't show efficacy based on the models of individual coaching a lot of the times, because what happens is once you're done with the coaching, people tend to regress back to the mean. So I wanted to fix that. And I could see that those who were extremely successful versus the ones that kept coming back and regressing, they had really good relationships, or they had a decent marriage. Like I could see that there was something going on with their marriage. And I started to piece together a theory. And my theory became known as couple development. And that is the idea of, as a couple, keeping each other accountable, helping each other work towards similar goals, or working as a supportive person toward your spouse's goals. I found in the research that John Gottman had been doing stuff very similarly, and he's one of the foremost researchers on relationships. And so I followed a lot of his stuff, and I started to teach some of this content to my own couple coachees, and found that they were actually seeing incredible results from it. So I did some case study work, and then I realized, goodness, if I'm going to ever bring this to the world, if I'm going to bring this into a big, way, I've got to research this, Ken, and I've got to find out if this is actually just me, or is this actually working with everyone else?
Now, had you gotten your PhD yet or no?
That's when I made the decision to go back and do the PhD.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Don't you have to, I didn't go to college, so I don't you have to get a master's degree first, or?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So along the way, I did a master's in psychology, and that's really where I kind of developed this theory and started to coach. And then it was the end of that experience. I was like, oh man, I've got to do a PhD. And here I was, a guy who didn't think he'd make it to college, who cried the day that he graduated, going, what in the world am I doing now? And I'm watching, my friends and other people out there who they're starting businesses, they're doing other things, and their income and their businesses are here. And I'm going back to school, like that concept of going back. So, I pushed it off and said, I'm retooling. I'm getting better. And I, along the way, I kept some of my coaching clients, I kept working on the business, and it evolved, and my training got better, and it got more efficient for couples.
Hold on 1 second. How old were you at this point?
So at that point, when I started my PhD, I was 32.
32. So and how many kids did you have?
Oh yeah. And so we started with 4 children. We ended with 6. 6 on the wall. So
yeah, let's do a full. Look how beautiful his family is. Show everybody your family. Beautiful family.
Thank you. And it's interesting right here. You can kind of see this picture over here. This is actually a Danish picture of Danish fishermen. I bought this at the end of the mission when I was touring with my family. And it signifies, work, going out on a really good day. I've got another picture on the other side. It's kind of a cloudy, you can't really see it, kind of a cloudy, stormy day. Yeah. And, some days are good, some days not so much. But the reality is my family is most important, and that's what really matters to me. So I keep them in the center. That's the symbolism.
Amazing. That's amazing, dude.
But, what I realized through all of that experience, that my wife is phenomenal and she's incredibly supportive. So we helped build this program together. And it really became solidified to me after doing all the research. Thanks, Pamela. Doing all the research that I needed to share with the world what I've learned about balance. And so I wrote this book, Achieving Balance.
I have it right here.
And
let me balance it there.
Love it. And the reality is that we're always out of balance. Hence the picture, right? Hence the unequilibrium. Yeah. But the time is the issue. As I trained so many couples on how to manage their time, I found that there were really 3 main myths. The first myth was this myth of trying to do everything at once. Now you're talking to a guy who started a business, going to PhD school, has a large family. I was involved with my church. I was trying to stay active and healthy. But along the way, Ken.
Do you see the irony, though? I mean, you're an overachiever.
That's right.
Talking about balance. That's
exactly it. That's exactly it. And you know, it's hard because you tell somebody like, "Oh man, you're an overachiever." Like, no, I'm just like achieving goals. Like that's just what I do, and I've always done that.
I'm just teasing you, man. I think it's
but
awesome.
It's true. Like people with our personalities, like we always want to have it all, right? We want to have it all. So I'm not saying you can't, because you can. And where my priorities were is on my family. And my wife and I knew that we wanted a large family, and I was going to have to support and provide. And because there's no way we're both doing this. Like she's at home and she homeschools. We changed a lot of things about our life because of the goals that we set. And as we set out to do this together, we decided to homeschool our kids. We decided to go completely plant-based.
Where were you living? Were you still in Utah or Southern Cal? Where were okay?
Yeah, so Utah. You know, I went to Utah State for my PhD.
That's right. Okay.
Yep. BYU is my undergrad, so I went a whopping 2 hours north to my graduate experience. But we made huge changes. We changed the entire business. I actually let go of being a financial advisor just so I could focus on helping business owners and financial advisors, you know, manage their time and be more productive. But through that, you know, again, you can have it all, but the myth is that you are, you should do it all. You don't have to do it all. Right. If you focus on your top 3 most important priorities, that is where the balance comes. Okay. So that's the irony, right? Is like, wow, you look like you have it all. And yeah, but I'm not doing it all. I'm focusing on those most important things in my life. It just happens to be my spirituality, my physical health, and my relationships with my wife and family. So if those things are doing really well, then everything else seems to be balanced. Yeah. Now that doesn't mean that, you know, if I'm spending time with my family and my wife and everything, that I'm going to be working 70, 80-hour weeks, because I can't. So I have to be super productive. And that was the next key that I found is, all right, be super productive. How can you, you know, have an incredible work schedule so you can only work 30, 35 hours a week? And I'm not one of those crazy workaholics. So I got trained. Did you just
say 30 or 35 hours a week?
Yeah, I only work max 30, 35. There's no way. Yeah.
Wow.
And I have a multiple 6-figure business. It's successful. It's crazy. But I think people think, oh, I've got to work longer, right, in order for me to be successful. You even have, you know, bless his heart, who's Elon Musk, right? He comes out saying, you've got to work 90 hours. You've got to kill it. But every industry I've ever been in, academia even, they work you like crazy. When I started in the financial industry, it was that workaholic trap. You got to work nights and weekends. Being a business owner, they always tell you, you've got to kill it, right? You've got to put everything else aside. It's baloney. It's a total farce. It's a total myth. Wow. Because here's the thing, Ken, if you want to have balance and you are killing it for your business year in and year out, your health is going to go down the tubes. Your relationships aren't going to be meaningful. And yeah, you might be successful in your business, but what is true success? Is that really balance, or is that just creating more stress for you, knowing that you should be focusing on these other areas? So as you're productive, the important part is that you create boundaries. Boundaries. We live in a time of cell phones, laptops. I got a device here that tracks my every move. Like, what are boundaries? Exactly. What are boundaries? You know, it's those limits that you set on your time. And it's how you keep yourself from becoming another productive workaholic. Because really, without boundaries, that's what we'll end up being. I trained a guy, and as I was helping him go from like 85 hours down to 55, okay, just down to something manageable. He had 5 kids of his own, Ken, similar values as I do, but he was so stressed out because his business was taking off. He had 1,800% increase in his mortgage business in 1 month. He was doing something right. He was featured in Forbes and
Wow.
Inc. magazine and other things. Great guy. But he turned to me, he's like, Travis, now you've taught me to be productive. What's going to keep me from coming back to work and working those 90 hours? And that's a legitimate concern, right? Because you can be incredibly productive in your time. And I realized it's those boundaries, and it's doing things outside of work that are meaningful to you. It's finding what it is that you enjoy doing for fun and rec, for, hobbies, those things you do when you're not working. But Travis, work is my hobby. Get a hobby. Seriously. It's working on your health. It's doing things outside of work. When you pad your schedule outside of your 30 to 40 hours a week, which I suggest, then you can keep yourself from going back and being that workaholic again. And you'll keep yourself from having the tendency that workaholics, overachievers have to continue to scale it and grow it and build it and justifying, I just need 10 more hours this week. I just need to keep stretching it. Does that make sense?
Dude, yeah. I'm sitting here thinking, how quickly can I end this interview? I got stuff to do. I'm kidding. But no, I mean, look, we own a business. My wife and I work together, and now we homeschool because of all the insanity.
Right.
And so it's a serious juggling act sometimes. It really, and especially for my wife, like she handles everything with our daughter, and I don't know, man. This is amazing. I don't play golf anymore. I work so much. I really don't. I don't
either, man. I don't have time for it. It's not the priority.
I love playing golf though. I want to play golf. Anyway,
golf is fun. But if that's your thing, I have a client who was a professional golfer, and she just wanted to get to that, that feeling of going back and golfing and do it, make time for it. So what I came up with is something that I call the make time method. That's in the book, Achieving Balance. The make time method is you get incredibly productive at work, but you focus in on those boundaries that can keep you focused. Creating an ideal calendar, having time to process so that you can, really be on top of things and you don't let things fall through your cracks. You actually have a time management system, but then be able to have goals outside of work that you can really focus on. Now, the key to all this is actually, and I know, this is something that a lot of people are going to be like, what, Travis, you're crazy. It's actually your marriage. I've studied and studied and studied. And again, I found that those people that did really well are the ones that had good marriages. So not just marriage, like I do. No, it is good quality relationship.
Right.
When that relationship is really tight and you can keep each other accountable to the things that you ought to be doing, then you go way past personal development. That is the true couple development that I'm talking about. And, it starts off first with just having accountability session. Once a week, I suggest sit down with your spouse and talk about where you spend your time, what your goals are, and just share them with each other.
Yeah.
If there's issues that you need to talk about, then talk about them. But really, if you can do those three things once a week, you will be amazed at what difference happens in your life. And that's what my wife taught me. My wife and I, as we were trying to make changes to our parenting, changes to our diet, which is like religion, like people don't do that. That's crazy. But we've been plant-based for over 12 years and homeschooling, or plant-based for 10, homeschooling for 12.
So you don't eat steak?
Nope. No more, Ken.
Hey, come on, man.
I know. That's what happens when you research the relationship between red meat and heart disease. Like you go, cutting that out. That was an easy one. Dude, red meat was easy. It was the fish. Fish is my thing.
You
It
don't
was
eat
milk and
fish
cheese.
either?
Oh, I don't eat fish. I don't eat chicken. I know I'm all sorts of crazy, Ken. I told you.
Wow.
But when I started to make these changes, there's no way I could have done this alone. In fact, my wife started making these changes, and we realized we really needed to support each other. We needed to help each other. It just so happens that she had a major health issue for her. That the only thing, she was actually diagnosed at age 26 herself. She was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis.
Your wife.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. And so it's interesting because as we got talking, and this is not a political thing because people like to politicize this research, but as I dug more into the research, we started making this change. And as she went plant-based, completely plant-based, her symptoms within a few weeks were gone. She was off all the medication. Wow. And, it was a huge deal. And I realized a good husband would do this with his wife. A good husband would give up all the things that he holds dear, his meat, his fish, whatever. And he would do this. And so I did. And I didn't know it would be a long-term deal. But when I shed my 30 pounds and I've kept those off for now more than 12 years, I've stayed the exact same weight. Let me, a good weight, a good fit weight. And I never brought that back on. It's a testament to me that this is what we need to stick with. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to be plant-based. I'm not a vegan going out there saying save the animals, although I do love animals. That's not it. I'm doing this completely because this is something we felt we needed to do to save our health.
I have a resentment towards you because I've been wondering where in the heck these extra 30 pounds came from. Thank you. You gave them to me. I appreciate that.
There you go. There you go.
It's your fault. No, dude, this is amazing. I met a guy when I lived out in Las Vegas. I met this guy. He played in the NFL for 11 years and huge dude. I mean, just a giant of a man. He was a lineman in the NFL. So he was, big dude. And I said, well, hey, we'll go out to a steak dinner tonight at whatever the restaurant. He goes, I'm a vegan. I said, no, you're not. Shut up. He goes, I'm a vegan, dude. I said, no way, man. And we ended up going to a vegan restaurant. I'd never been to one and I had this most amazing veggie burger. I've never even heard of this. And it was freaking amazing. So, Well,
anyway. And now it's actually a huge, I wished I had invested in all the plant-based, products that are coming out because there's a huge demand for it now. Demand is really picking up, which is great. But, me and Tom Brady, we were plant-based before it was cool. No offense to anybody else. But Tom Brady, he's plant-based and he attributes a lot of his agility, and he's old for the NFL, but he's still playing,
Yeah, I know.
He's still playing and he's still killing it. Right. Yeah. No one can deny that.
It's luck.
Oh yeah. So it's totally luck. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. But I'm not Tom Brady, so I'm not the spokesman for being plant-based. And but I will tell you that I still play soccer. I race mountain bikes. I'm 41 and I'm still running, swimming, doing all sorts of things. There's nothing that I can't do now that I did when I was in my 20s. I'm not superhuman. I'm feeling my mortality about this point, but the fact that I've kept it is a testament to the diet and the lifestyle.
So let me ask you this, where is, I want to make sure that is your book on your website?
Yeah. If you go to achievingbalancebook.com,
okay,
you can get the book there. You get the book. Plus, if you go, you can buy it on Amazon. You can go get it for $15.99, or you can buy it on my website, achievingbalancebook.com, for shipping. The cost of shipping is like $8.99. Oh. And in addition, you'll also get a 3-hour training that I did live, all about how to be productive and manage your time. So I'm going to teach you the productivity skills that I've been using for the last 12 years. I'll also give you, there's a 10-minute video training on how to, make your inbox, streamline your inbox. So I know that most people, their email, their social media is what clogs down their day. So I teach you how to do that. 10 minutes, very simple. And then if people are interested and they want to spend 45 minutes with me to figure out what's really messing them up on their balance and they need that one-on-one, you can apply for that. That's a $750 value that I give for free. Those that apply for that, time with me, I'm happy to walk through and find out what's going on. Where are you at, Mr. Business Owner, Mr. Financial Advisor, Miss Business Owner, a lady boss, right?
Yeah.
I'm happy to chat with you about those things, and be helpful to, to actually spend the time. But yeah, go to achievingbalancebook.com. And I'm also, and this is the reason for the ultra cool mic right now, Ken.
Yeah.
I've got some other fancy equipment, but I'm in the process right now of recording the entire book on audio. So those of you that are like, I don't want to read it, Ken, I know you bought the book and I know you're not going to read it.
No.
So for people like you, I have the audio. That way there's no excuse. You can plug it in the car. You can do it when you're working out. Or,
that's awesome.
But I will be reading that personally. And I take pride in knowing that I like when the author actually reads his or her own book.
Yeah.
I like hearing their voice.
Yeah.
I like hearing their inflections and knowing, what to do. So
look what
thanks,
Jay Fox is a buddy of mine. He's a nationally syndicated radio host. That look what he just said. And I don't know if you met him. He was over there at the hotel hanging out with me for a while.
I didn't get to meet you, Jay, but we should hang out for sure. I really appreciate that.
So let me ask you a question. And I ask this, this show is all about having a breakthrough, which obviously you've given an incredible roadmap for that. What do you think? Because I don't care what anybody says. I mean, I think that the default setting for most people that are trying to achieve financial wealth, or gain or whatever, the default setting is work more hours, work harder. Right. And I agree with some of that. There, a jumbo jet puts out a ton of energy getting to cruising altitude. So it takes a lot of work. But what do you think holds people back from achieving two things? One, financial success in life, and two, balance, joy, real happiness.
Yeah. I think I could answer both questions with the same word. It's fear. It's fear.
Okay.
I write about it in the last chapter. Here I am writing a book about balance. And in the last chapter, I throw in a whole thing about fear. Why? Because if we're not careful, fear can be our greatest motivator. Yeah. And fear really has the ability, if we let it, to drive us to do things that we don't necessarily want to do. Now I'm not talking about like real fears. Like I'm afraid that if I get too close to the edge when I'm driving on a cliff, that I will fall over and die in my car. Like that is a legitimate fear. Okay?
That's a healthy fear, right?
That's healthy. Yeah, that can keep you in boundaries sometimes. But it's these limiting blocks and fears that people have subconsciously of actually being afraid of success, Ken. And some, they're afraid to fail. There's a lot more of those that I've encountered. But some are afraid of what success looks like.
Right.
Well, if I'm a religious person and I have money, does that make me evil? Right. There's that whole myth. Well, if I am successful, because that's truly what I want to do, and I'm successful, what does my family think of me? How do other people view me when I'm living in the gated community and I invite them over to my home and they live in the suburbs? Right.
Right.
It's all of these perceptions that I find a lot of people really struggle actually with wanting to be successful. And it creates a cognitive dissonance, which is where the stress comes in. Having two competing ideas at the same time of having a subconscious fear of success, but wanting to be successful. And
Mm.
people, when I help point this out to them when they're in their one-on-one discovery call with me, if they apply, they can schedule that with me. But I am able to help them pinpoint and see that maybe they do struggle with success. The other side of the fear tree is what I call it. The other side is fear of failure. This one's a lot easier to diagnose and see. It's
Yeah.
people that really struggle with accomplishing much because they are afraid to even try. They're afraid to even try. And so they get started and they look like they're working full bore, but they're really not. They are distracted. They'd rather watch educational videos than make the calls that they need to. And they allow procrastination to sneak up on them. And then they blame a lot of other people. When in reality, they've got a fear of failure that's haunting them in their subconscious mind. So
Wow.
this base motivator can actually drive you. And some people will say, well, it's because I'm afraid I'm going to fail. It's because I grew up and my parents told me I would never amount to anything. Or it's because of all these other things that, I'm worried about when I become successful, taxes and legal and whatever
Yeah.
else, name it, right?
Yeah.
Or being a social, person when I'm not very social, I'm an introvert. And now people are going to find out who I am. I'm the author of all these books or whatever, the story. But
Yeah.
the reality is when you can blow past these fears and you can take that and really conquer them and move these challenges away, we are really finding out we're the only ones that are really blocking our own success. So I don't care if it's your health, it's your relationships, or it's your finances. If you're struggling in any one of those three areas, it's because you're afraid of something and you haven't figured out how to get past it. Now, a lot of people spend years and years trying to discover what that is. I am a pro at this, and this is why I offer this one-on-one meeting. In less than 30 minutes, I can figure out exactly where people are. And I can
Wow.
help them discover if they're fear of failure, fear of success, a combination of both. I really have it down to a science. So that's the value that I give people for that discovery call, Ken. And it really has life-changing implications because once they can pinpoint, oh man, I never knew this was stopping me. This was getting in my way. Then we can make a strategy and we can start working towards what that entails. The next part really is the make time method. It's getting super productive at work so you can spend the time to do the things outside. And then once you take action always trumps fear.
Yep.
Once you act on the things that you want to accomplish, then you can be like, what? Overweight, what? Where you go? Dead into up to my eyeballs. What? 6-figure business? Like you can act out of your internal values that will then drive the fear away. I can honestly say, I'm afraid of a few things, but man, when the pandemic came, I became all sorts of fearful. And I was like, what am I going to do? My entire business, Ken, of making this message go viral was on stages. And thank you, Chaz Wilson, for letting us have an actual in-person conference just last month. We loved it, loved it, loved it.
It was amazing.
It was absolutely fantastic to be around people again and
Yeah.
see faces. But
Yeah.
my business model died in the beginning of 2020. I saw it in January and I was already getting people saying, we're going to push this off. We're going to do this next year. I had dozens of things lined up.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided, Ken, I'll tell you what we want to break through. I decided I wanted to write this book 12 years ago. But in 2020, I said, forget it. If I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. Yeah. And why not? I'll do it in the pandemic year when everything else has been turned on its head. Yeah. And so has balance. In fact, I've talked with I've interviewed over 150 business owners and financial advisors to write the book. And I found that most people, even if they were a little bit out of whack, they're way out of proportion now with the pandemic. You know why? Because most workaholics say, I'm stressed. I'm going to work more because it's the thing that I think I can control. Yeah. And that's actually one of the definitions of being a workaholic. So It was
Wow.
never a better time to write Achieving Balance. And once I
Wow.
did, I started getting picked up on, live shows like this, podcasts all over the world,
Yeah.
where, I'm spreading this message during a pandemic year, and my business tripled last year. It tripled.
Yep.
We're set to do it again this year, and it'll just keep going. But my breakthrough, one of the biggest walls I broke through, is my own fear that I am somehow not there yet. I have a PhD. It's okay. I'm just not there yet. Well, I've got to do this. No. You're not there yet. Like it was 2020 do or die.
Yeah.
And I knew consciously I have what it takes. I've got the knowledge, but it was that imposter syndrome that was a fear of failure, really. It was a fear of letting others down, making them think that I didn't know what I was talking about, right? And I get on stage to share that message or coach people, that somehow they would poke holes enough to be like, no, Travis, you don't know actually really what you're talking about. But when you write a book and you have to put down your life story, which is partly there in chapter 1, and you put down all of those myths and all of the entire system on here, and then people throw reviews on Amazon, like some of the amazing reviews out there, like this book totally changed my life. I thought I was getting time management and I got a whole new version of myself. Like those kinds of reviews, it really does come back and say, Travis, you're onto something here. So, if you want a piece of this, you want the Make Time method, go order the book, get it for shipping, pre-order the audio for $20. It's a steal. And I love to share that message with the world.
That's incredible, dude. You're an amazing guy. I'm very, very grateful to know you, call you a friend and a new friend, but a friend nonetheless. And I think that you are, and Jay, you're right. Jay said it. This is a book the world needs right now. And it's so true. So true.
Thank you both. Appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity, Ken.
You're
a great dude for having me on, letting me just tell the story. It has been a lot of breakthroughs, and I'm grateful for my own family, my own father, and really to kind of wrap this up and put a bow on it. And I leave this at the end of the book, though, is that my father, his death was the catalyst, but in reality, it kind of saved my life. It was on a trajectory that was quite honestly ending up like a lot of workaholics that struggle and that are out of balance. But this really forced me to put myself on a course that needed huge breakthroughs and changes in my life to be where I am. And I'm just happy to share that message. So thank you.
Incredible. Dr. Travis Parry, thank you so much. And my wife is asking, where can people follow you? Where's the best place to follow you?
I'm the most on LinkedIn, but I do have a Facebook page, a business Facebook page people can follow as well. You can hit me up there. It's Dr. Travis Parry. Dr. Travis Parry, Parry.
Incredible. Travis, thank you for coming on and sharing your story, your message of hope. People need hope, man. And that's, I think your story is definitely speckled with a lot of hope. So thank you for being here and sharing. If you'll hang on for just a second, I'm going to end this, but thank you to everyone who watched. And if you shared this out, you're awesome. If you didn't share it out, you're still awesome, but we'd prefer you share it out. So
share. Yeah. Sharing is caring.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right.